Hey everyone, welcome to PM Talks with Michael. Today we're going to be talking about how you can make your resume stand out as a PM in this very competitive market. And I'm joined by Imun, who is a product manager at Snap. You probably use the product Snapchat, so we're really excited to have him here. All right, before we jump in, let's do a very quick intro of Imun. Imun, would you like to give us a little background on yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Amun Solomon. Like you said, I'm a product manager at Snap. I actually joined in 2020, working on business integrity and the content understanding platform. And then since then, have grown into working on the reporting platform. So we're in charge of all the engagement metrics, all the business analytics on the platform. So before that, I actually was an intern at Google. I worked in the trust and safety using models for counter abuse, using like ML models for counter abuse, and had a before that background in data science and economics at the University of Minnesota.
That's awesome. That's a really diverse and pretty cool background. So we're excited to jump right in. I know you have three tips that you really want to cover on how you can make your PM resume stand out in this really competitive market. I think a lot of
Yeah.
college students and people with early career want to know. So what are those three things?
So recently, moved into kind of interviewing product managers. So I'm seeing this kind of even with candidates that are very solid, but not enough sometimes to just be solid. There's like, what could you stand out to be specific for this role?
Right.
So I'd say the first one, and this is really underrated, is to have an opinion. Companies are looking for the product managers to have an opinion. So there's only one way to know that this candidate has an opinion, and that's them expressing it somewhere. So I know a lot of people get squeamish about this, but it's either posting on LinkedIn, having your own blog, maybe a YouTube channel, or some kind of writing or some kind of publication somewhere where you have an opinion. I think this is super important. I always click on the portfolio or the personal website of any of our product applications. So if you have something that's like, hey, this is an area that I have an opinion on, is it cloud computing? Perhaps it's climate change tech, or it's something about, ML or scaling or Go, like whatever kind of language or
Mhm.
product that you're specifically interested in. Have an opinion on it, share it. It doesn't even matter if it's right or wrong, really. It's more about having a strong stance that you're willing to back up. I always look at that, and sometimes in interviews, I'll test it. And if they can really defend their opinion, I know that's something that they can bring to the role. So having an opinion, I think some folks are scared of. I think that's the best thing to do to stand out.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I think now more than ever, I've experienced this in my interview process as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of PM candidates who are probably getting through the interview process and then at the end realizing when it comes to team matching,
Yeah.
you have a big journey to go. And if you have an opinion, you show you have like, a record of work, that's gonna help, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it does too, like help compress like an earlier, like let's say you're going against candidates with like 10 years experience, and a lot of times you'll have like one or two, or maybe you're just coming right out of college. That's one way to flatten that gap, is like, hey, well, this person actually is three-dimensional. We can see that they care about this thing. They disagree with this or they agree with that. As a manager, you're like, wow, like that's something I want to work with. I think that works. Like I think I can, somebody on my team that I don't have to continuously feed them a stance on, they will take a stance.
Yeah, and that's like I guess the next point is once you're actually on the job, why does it matter to have an opinion? And why would you want to bring a PM in who has a strong vision on what should be done in that domain?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the keys here is that if you're hiring a senior folk or a GPM, group product manager, this is probably something you shouldn't have to worry about, right? Because they'll have a track record of X amount of years. But as a newer PM, it's almost a growth criteria that you can handle things without the managers like kind of handholding you. So when you're moving from junior to mid career, that's what they specifically are looking for. Can you take a small feature into a larger, and then at a certain area, just take over product areas yourself without the manager feeding you that type of like insight. Like, hey, let's do this new product now. Like, test this thing. Can you come up with new ideas? That should all be kind of like coming from you. That should be inherent. So if they get the sense that you're like that, that's awesome. They're like, okay, this is great. We know that not only will they get in the company, but they'll be successful while they're here.
Love it. Okay, so that's have an opinion. Number two
Mhm.
is going from 0 to 1. So what does that actually mean?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something I think a lot of candidates should actually put in their resume. It's something I've used as well. And pretty much going from 0 to 1 is showing you've built something from ideation into some level of traction. It doesn't really need to be $100 million company. Doesn't even need to be something that you've monetized, right? It's just an idea that you had, something that you wanted to put out in the world. It came from your brain, and then you made it real. And I actually think you should do this and explain it on your resume. So you have your professional experience at the top, and then right there you say projects, and you explain this project. So this could be a volunteer kind of experience, something maybe you're helping out a local organization with a new website, something in a school project. You started a new organization or a new chapter of an organization at your school. Talk about how
Mhm.
many signups you had, the adoption you got, the traffic you were able to generate. And often this will be kind of things that if you're early in your career, perhaps you're not like making lots of money about it or making, huge adoption. But if you could get, an article written about it, or you could write an article for your school paper or something like that to show that the progress that you've made from having an idea, taking it to, hey, what's the problem space? We tested these things out. We got feedback. This worked. This didn't work. I
Mhm.
decided to go with that. I pivoted the idea. That's going to show, okay, you're already somebody who will make solutions for problems that perhaps no one else is going to tackle. That's the first thing that will also make you stand out, definitely against, experienced product manager with 10 years. I think the 5 years or, even now, whatever the amount of experience they have, I think the best way to show that, hey, you're competitive and you can grow at the company will be, I have these projects that I can go 0 to 1 on. Choose one that you're, passionate about or that you think is fun,
Yeah,
and then include it in your resume.
I love that. All right. Now we're gonna
Yeah.
jump to part three. We're,
Yeah.
we're rolling these out very quickly. So the third thing that you wanted to call out is being very specific about the role that you're applying for. So what
Yeah.
does that look like?
Absolutely. This one is so critical this time when, in the time of these layoffs, in the time of just the compressed job market. I think you want to be specific and actually you might have a better shot applying to fewer roles than kind of the spray and pray. So let me explain what I mean. Kind of in the past, I feel like a lot of product hiring, and Facebook has done this. I know Google does this as well. They just have a bar that you have to meet to join the company. Then they will figure out where within the company you should be a product manager for. Now, that's because they have so many teams, right?
Mhm.
When I joined Snap, I specifically went after a role that was called the business integrity role because of my background at Google, where I was doing the counter abuse modeling, right? So we were pretty much using machine learning to come up with anti-abuse, to detect like bad actors, to protect the good users. Um, and that was something that immediately put me way ahead of all the other candidates who were applying versus the 10 years at Amazon, but they were working on like commercial retail or something like that. Or
Right.
somebody else was working on like the discovery experience or something. Like I had this specific background information, like knowledge. So I leapfrogged more, more experienced PMs for that role.
Mhm.
Now, what you could do is find companies and roles that you're really interested in, and then get into the 95th percentile of specific knowledge about that. So if it's a gaming company, make sure you develop like 95th percentile level background on the gaming
Mhm.
company, what their problem spaces are, really connect with the blog. That's a big one is every company will have an engineering blog. So read the last 5 engineering posts that they have on their blog. That'll explain the new things that they've released, the new like problem spaces that they have. And then when you get into an interview or when you do get into a recruiter, like actually reviewing it, your resume, they'll see that you have specific interest in this role. So this
Yeah.
is something that's like, once you get to an interview, the interviewer will say, oh, this person already feels like they're in the industry or they already feel like they work here, and
Right.
that's a big thing for interviewers. So I think being specific as to, okay, I want to work in ML. Okay. But be specific on what piece of ML. Is it in a consumer app, in a B2B SaaS? Okay, if that's the case, I think with probably 2 hours of research, you can get into a corner percentage, like a very like 95th percentile of understanding all the things that the background of this role will have, and then they feel like you've worked in this space before. And I think that's something that people underrate how much impact that has versus what other candidates are doing. A lot of other candidates are just kind of spraying, praying, and I get it with this market; it makes sense. But if you were to narrow it down and be very specific about 5 roles, I think you go much further than spraying for hundreds of roles.
Yeah. I mean, in 2024, I think that's number three is probably the most important one. Like you said,
Yeah,
it's just so critical, right? You are going up against a lot of other candidates, and the more domains experience or knowledge you have, and it doesn't have to be on the job. It could be maybe, like the side projects like you mentioned,
for
but it
sure.
shows you have passion and you know what you're gonna do when you jump into the role day one. Yeah, I love that. Those are really great three tips I think that are gonna help people figure out how they can improve their resume and get a better chance
Yeah.
of landing that first interview. Anything else you want to share before we close it out?
Yeah, I think another thing would be that these are in addition to leveraging your network, right? So if you do these things and you have an opinion, you're specific, like I feel like people will kind of come to you. I think one of the things that I always try and help folks with is some of these, once you get to a certain point, these roles start coming to you, right? But in the beginning, they don't. So you want to actually kind of flip that scale. So the first thing would be, of course, message everybody that you know or you have a slight connection with on LinkedIn or just personally about, hey, I'm excited about this role. Like, can you send me a referral? Straight up, ask them for a referral.
Mm,
But two, I feel like recruiters get paid to do this all day, right? So make their job easier. So I always argue there's resume books out there for a lot of different organizations. For Black product managers, we have Nesby, we have Afrotech. Submit your resume into those resume books, and that can help the recruiters kind of come to you versus you going to them. So I think the other piece is allow recruiters to help you out finding you. So kind of get in their way. And then that helps their job too, right? They're looking for smart, like ambitious candidates. So if you can get in front of them, let's say maybe one role isn't the right one, keep connected with them and they'll send you another role maybe 3 months down the line or something like that.
yeah,
So yeah, I would be try and make the game work for you a little bit too.
nice. And when it comes to reaching out on LinkedIn for a referral, I'm sure
Yeah.
you get some inbound yourself. Like, what
Yeah.
do you focus on, and which candidates end up actually getting a referral if they're reaching out cold to you?
Absolutely. It's a good one. I think if you know literally just a little bit of research, hey, I'm interested in the space, like one sentence about why, and then shoot me your resume in that first message and ask for a referral. So I think if that's what you're looking for, if you just kind of want to talk and have a coffee chat or something like that, you could say that. But I think being more direct is super important because there's so many people are getting this inbound. You're getting all kind of messages all the time. So make sure that you're just like I can get a full understanding of what you want in one message
Yeah,
instead of going back and forth. I think a lot of people are like, hey, I would love 15 minutes of your time if we could do. That's a great way to do it too, but it's too much. I don't know what you want really,
yeah,
right? If
yeah.
you hey, I found this role, I think I'm a great fit for it. Here's my resume. If you think so too, please send me a referral. Boom. That's
Nice.
it right there. The one and done helps a lot instead of kind of, folks messaging back and forth like, what does this person want really? Like you don't know
Right.
yet. Just tell me.
Yeah, so you make the decision easier for us, right? And then
Exactly.
what if someone says, "Hey, I don't give out referrals," without actually getting to know the person, which totally can happen, right? Which is
Sure. That's
understandable.
fair.
How should a candidate handle that conversation?
Okay. Yeah. If they say that, then say, hey, can I find a convenient time for you to have a 15-minute chat? So make it whatever convenient is, in their calendar, right? Let them reschedule it. Obviously, be flexible if it's, something, during the workday. But even just like a casual phone conversation, I don't think everything needs to be on Zoom or Google Meet. Sometimes like you're fatigued from your own work meetings,
Right.
right? And then have to jump on this other one. So maybe just grab the phone number and call them. If they're gracious enough to do that, I think you kind of explain your background, ask them some questions, and if they feel comfortable at that point, they absolutely will. I think if they're not comfortable with giving you a referral, I don't think they will. I think
Yeah.
they will just, at a certain, they won't go through this whole process. But once you explain yourself, you go through each other's, they go through your resume, you ask questions. I think they'll absolutely be happy enough to give you a referral.
Awesome. All right. So that
Yeah.
was bonus tip. We thought we were gonna get three, but we got a fourth one. So That's really helpful, building your network in an efficient way and making it really easy for, the people you're reaching out to. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Hope everyone found this really insightful. If you have any questions, comments, let us know, and make sure you like and subscribe. We'll have more of your questions answered in the future videos.